welcome to the Ladies Best Lives podcast. I have got one of our epic coaching club clients in today. Her name is Tia. Tia joined us back in January, and oh my goodness, I cannot wait to share this journey with you. It is going to be packed full of wisdom, inspiration, and a ton of knowledge that you can take away and start to implement into your life. Tia, thank you so much for being with us.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to being here. Let's go.
Let's do this. So we're gonna go straight in. So tell us, Tia, what life was like before joining the coaching club.
So if I go right the way back, so I got married in 2018, and then like 5 months after I got divorced. And that is where the pivotal sort of change and shift in my life began. So if I go back a step further, my mum and dad split up when I was about 5 or 6 roughly. And I spent many years being a pawn in the game between who's having her for Christmas, who's having her for a birthday. You were just like this little toy that it felt like to me in between two people that were obviously not agreeing at the time. So life was pretty chaotic as a child, and I grew up around quite a lot of negative and toxic kind of relationships, whether that be loving relationships and like parental. So my mum was obviously a single mum. Like, we didn't have a lot of kind of like financial backing, which probably leads to where I am from like a financial independence perspective. I'm very driven on that, but she just wanted to protect me, and as an adult I can see that, but it was very all consuming. There was almost too much love. It felt very smothering. It was really restrictive. And I would go between hers and my dad's very often. As like at a weekend, there was kind of like set rules and restrictions around like when you could go there, and that was quite kind of rigid and structured, I suppose. And then that left to quite a lot of like tension between the relationship between me and my mum, especially during my teenage years. I definitely started to rebel quite heavily. As an adult, I can look back and be totally grateful for what she did. She pushed me really hard, especially in school, and a lot of what I came out with results-wise at school are all credit to her, because I definitely wouldn't have done that if I didn't have her in my corner. But we just didn't get on. Like, we just clashed. We were very similar. I blamed her for a lot, and I think she'd obviously kind of got her own sort of separate feelings from a relationship perspective, not just from obviously having a child. So that was really tough. And then I left home, if you like, when I was sort of 16, and I moved to my dad's. And moving to my dad's was at the complete opposite end of this cycle. So because I had been so restricted, he was like, wanted to give me a free rein and be like, do what you want to do. But because I'd never had to make a decision before on my own, I was like, what the fuck do I do now? Who's going to help me? Who is going to tell me what's the right thing to do or not? And that definitely led to a point of the only way I can describe it is just going completely off the rails. I kind of didn't really feel like I fitted in with like my dad and his partner at the time. She had 3 boys, and because I'd only been back and forward at a weekend, it felt like I was kind of not really part of their sort of family unit that they had kind of going on. So when I sort of moved in permanently, I was a bit like, I'm not really sure whether I belong here or not. And I started to kind of look for places to fit in. And then I fell into kind of like a crowd of, and great people. I've got some great memories from that time of my life, but it was wild. It was completely off the rails. Started drinking too much, was doing drugs, started putting on loads and loads of weight, very unhealthy lifestyle. and quite addictive. Like it wasn't just, I couldn't just have a little bit of something, like, and I think that probably comes from being quite restricted like as a child, to then being like, have what you like. I was like a kid in a candy shop. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna have it all then. And I was in a relationship with someone I was really, really good friends with, and it kind of escalated, got together, we got engaged, and my heaviest then, I was about 18 stone, very, very unhealthy. We were kind of in the pub all the time, just eating takeaway, eating crap, and it just makes you feel totally drained, doesn't it? That kind of all fell through around about the time I started my kind of career as a like within the FTSE 100 company I'm in now. And when I started there, I kind of threw myself into my career, and I was like, I'm really fucking good at this. Like, I found something I'm great at, and I kind of like worked my way up the chain. And it felt good. Like, I was in a place where I was getting validation for being great at something. I knew I was confident in my ability. And then I kind of met my ex, then, like my ex-husband, or now ex-husband, and we were together for a few years. And gradually over time, whilst my career was absolutely thriving, I kind of got to a point where I completely lost myself. He was very abusive, emotionally, physically, verbally, complete narcissist. There was a lot of emotional blackmail, which, as someone that's always been very like loud, bubbly, life and soul of the party, like always up for a good crack, I totally like removed myself from any of my friends. I like lost contact with all of my friendship groups, even some of my family, and just really totally withdrew, and I'd lost like completely lost my confidence. And then we got engaged, and then before the wedding I was like, right, big push, let's lose this weight. I was probably about 15 stone then, so I had lost a bit, but I got into a pattern of like, it was because everything else was so in such turmoil, the only thing I could control was my food. So I would go through like really, really harsh restriction cycles. So either like I've tried all the shitty diets, like Weight Watchers, Slimming World, like fasting, Slim Fast, shakes, Herbalife, what crap, just stuff that now I know is absolutely dreadful for you. But at the time I was like, what's quick, what's fast, what's going to get it done? And it just developed some really, really unhealthy habits around food. And because I was in a point of, that's the only thing I can control, I'd got my career and that was thriving. Home life was just such a wreck. The food and having that control over it got me to a place where I would binge. I would either restrict really, really tightly and then have a massive binge. Sometimes to the point of being sick, like I would just make myself ill. And I was so focused on, this is within my control, and I was harming myself, not physically harming myself, but like in what my actions and what I was doing were just making me spiral out of control, really. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. Looking back now, I definitely shouldn't have got married. However, given it was the third time that I'd been engaged, I had a total there was a lot of pressure, like not external pressure, but pressure I felt on myself. I've always been someone that was like taught to believe you've got a societal norm to fit in with. So you do find someone, you do buy a house, you do get married, you do have kids, and you do settle down, you have the great career, and then like it's all marvelous. So in my head, I just felt like if I didn't go through with this, it was just going to be another failure. It was going to be something else to let someone else down about. And I'd kind of like, some of that shame and guilt I'd like worked through with a therapist like years ago from like a child, like from a child side of things. But when it came to this, it just felt like, what's everyone going to say if she doesn't do, if she's like pulls out now, Like they were like, God, this is the bloody third time now. Do you think this is right for you? Or so I went like, and part of me thought that maybe getting married would solve things, like maybe fix what was a complete shit show at the time. Obviously it didn't. So do you know what? I should have taken a hint. So I'm big on like what the universe tells you, right? The bloody car broke down on the morning of the wedding. Tell me that's not a sign. Either way, either way.
Anyone listening to this about to get married, if their car breaks down, they're gonna be like, Tia said.
Don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah, so it was like that was just a total, like, it was just chaos. Obviously the marriage didn't last very long. We split up. There was quite a significant incident in the September after we got married, and that was like it for me. I just knocked it on the head, and like again I felt that like shame of like I had to go back home and be like, this doesn't fucking work out again. Can I have my bedroom back? Can I stay here for a bit? Like it was just cap in hand again, and I just don't. I've never been someone that likes that. But I'd completely lost who I was as a person. Like I'd completely changed, and I wanted to start sort of finding who I was again. And to be fair, it took a good couple of years on my own trying to like work through it. What does that mean? I now with my current partner, like you can look back and think like how fucked up that was at the time, but it took me time to process it. And then I'd started kind of I'd lost a load of weight. I mean, they always say that, don't they? Breakup is like great for it, but it just wasn't healthy. Again, I went back to like drinking a lot, like like heavily drinking. I remember one of my friends saying to me, she was like, "Do you think like maybe you might need to just have a night off the gin?" And that, like then I thought, yeah, no, I think someone thinks that there's probably an issue. So if you've got friends like that in your life, you need to keep hold of them. The good ones. But then obviously, when I joined CC, I was at a point of like, I feel like I'm okay. I'd like got back into my training. I got back into some kind of like healthier eating sort of habits, but I just felt like there was more. There just had to be something more. And I remember when we had our first call, I was like, look, Sash, I'm not really sure what the goal is, but I know that there is something out there that is way, way more than what is going on now. And that, I guess, in a nutshell, is why I sort of joined. I wanted to find myself again and create a life that is sustainable and fulfilling. So they're probably my 3 points.
Okay, so why did you believe, because obviously we were back and forth on social media, you were liking my stuff, we chatted a bit. So when you realized that, okay, I'm here, things are okay, I'm in a great relationship, I've got a great career, but I know I'm capable of more, what was it that made you know? Like you must have known at some point that I was the person to help to facilitate that. So what, like, how did you know that?
So I think like for me, gut is everything, right? And obviously we'd been chatting back and forward for ages. I remember like I kept sliding into your DMs. I'm like, oh, what about this? What about this? And you're like, you're like, you vibe with people, don't you? And you like, I felt there was something in my gut that was like, I can wholeheartedly trust this woman to change my fucking life, and I'm just going to go for it. And I remember being like, oh shit, now what's going to happen now? Like, oh my God, because change is not easy. But I just knew there was something, like, not only from like I wanted more from a life perspective, I wanted to get healthy. I wanted to be able to like live a life that's sustainable, like I can maintain that. I don't want to be like back and forth yo-yoing. And I think at some point, if you've ever been through any kind of like trauma throughout your life, you need to be the one that breaks that cycle at some point. And I feel that's where I'm at the moment.
And so I can completely relate to you when you say, you know, the reason why you went with the marriage is because you were thinking what will people think? Because I know, so I've had 4 significant boyfriends in my life, never engaged, never married, thank God. But each of them, especially the one that I've recently broken up with, I was like, I didn't tell anyone for ages. There was probably 2 people in my whole life who knew, because I was terrified of what the family would say. They would comment and say how nice he was and all these things that makes you think that you're the nutter. You're the one who's overworked. You're the one who's not appreciated them and all these things. So can completely resonate with you there. Now, what do you believe from whatever age, and we are going, so I basically asked Tia a couple of questions at the beginning to say this is sort of the questions I'll be asking you, and now I'm going completely off script, so I am sorry, Tia.
That's fine, it's fine, we'll go in.
What are the 3 or 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 underlying beliefs, thoughts, feelings that drove your obsessive nature, your high achieving nature? Like, was there anything that, looking back now, because obviously we can only connect the dots backwards, is there anything that was underlying that was like the driving force behind why you did both the good and the bad behaviors, or just the bad? I say bad, but
so I think one is that I never really felt like I belonged in anything. And I felt that like in school as well, and like friendship groups, like I've always been like, I'll just float around. People are never really like, I don't have any friends that I went to school with now. Like, it's just not something that I've ever kind of like connected with really. And so that definitely, I've definitely felt like not worthy. So I think when I met my ex, I was in a place of I'd lived quite like a wild sort of lifestyle for so long. When I met him, he was very like steady, real like secure, like no hardly any drinking, definitely no drugs, like no wild lifestyle that I was used to. I almost felt like I wasn't worthy of that stability, maybe. I think a lot of the back and forth of that is definitely in there. That I think the instability that I've had, I think I've always wanted to like, or craved that. And I think that's probably why I've always been in these kind of like relationships where you kind of, you're craving that validation and that attention, that love, that want. So that is definitely one. What else is there?
Why do you think you were craving love and validation from elsewhere?
I think probably male wise, because so this definitely isn't the case for my mum, because she like I said before, like was overpowering with it. But with my dad, it was always, there was just money thrown at stuff. Like it was like, I remember this, like, so when I was younger, I'd see him on like I'd be able to see him on a Wednesday night, like, and then like every other weekend. And he like, so for birthdays, for example, he just like just wild stuff, like really expensive stuff that you just don't need as a kid. But I don't even really remember half of that. But like a Wednesday night when he'd pick me up from school and we'd go for like a chocolate milkshake and this like shitty ham and cheese toasty on a like best memories I've got with him, because I never used to get that like one-on-one time with him. There's quite a lot of jealousy from his partner at the time, and I felt like I always had to be like overachieving to be like to get his attention almost. So it probably comes from that, I think.
Okay, so really good insight into your past, really good insight, and hopefully some people listening will be able to go, oh yeah, like that makes a bit more sense. So you joined the coaching club to basically reach your potential, to really figure out who you are, and to patch up anything that is kind of dripping into the rest of your life that may not be serving you.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been in 8 months now. So what was it that we have done, or that you have overcome, that you realized that you actually needed to do? What was it that you know that you needed to do but you weren't doing?
So I think so I remember the only thing that I had in my mind when I joined was like, oh yeah, no, so I need to lose some weight. I knew that there was more, but it was like, okay, well, that is a tangible, because I can see a number for that. So that I'm going to go for. And because I've dieted for years, I knew what I needed to do there. It wasn't so much knowing that I needed to diet, if you like. It was, how do I do that, but then maintain it. There's a lot of stuff looking back now that I can say that I did need, but I definitely didn't know I needed at the start. So like things that I think have made my journey within the CC so successful so far are, I'm around people that are just like totally like-minded, and I think your environment is absolutely everything. And when you surround yourself with people like that, you're only going to get better. So that definitely. I think having our boardroom. So like we've obviously got some great coaches, obviously yourself who heads it up, but we've obviously got Sarah who's a nutritionist, we've got Al, we've got Jen. It's just thriving like all the time with insight, and having them in your corner to be like, okay, if something comes up, there's always going to be someone that you can go to. That has been like exceptional. Like this stuff that Sarah will teach you in the nutrition stuff, that I'm sat there thinking like, why the hell do they not teach this to kids? Like, why are we not told this? Like, and it's so simple, but it's great. One of the things I think has been really useful for me is the whole like downtime is uptime. I have never been very good at the balance of like I'm either like go 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 go, or nah, I'm just like foot's off the gas. But actually I'm now at a point where I've got a really good balance, and I know that like by taking a day off, like training for argument's sakes or whatever, gives you a bit more freedom. Same with like work. If you like take an afternoon off work just to let your creative mind flow, your productivity is like through the roof. Like it really, really is. So I think they've been like pivotal, really. There's probably a million more I could go on, Sash.
How much weight have you lost now?
Just over a stone.
And centimeters?
Oh, 20 plus, I think.
Mega. And what would you say, because obviously when you just mentioned then that I have always struggled with the downtime, and it's not until you realize that it's actually a bit of a way to kind of bribe yourself into it. Downtime does equal uptime. Downtime sharpens the blade, to make sure that you are potent in the way that you're attacking things. So that says to me, and I put this on my story about you the other day, that you're a go-getter. What other personality traits, and it doesn't have to be specific words, but do you feel like, so if someone was to describe you as a person, what would they say?
Depends who you ask, probably.
That's so true.
What would they say? That I'm passionate, that I genuinely care, that I'm great to be around. I am a control freak, and I don't mean that in a negative way either. Like, there is a lot of positives, and it has served me very well for the last 30 years. But I do like to have order. I'm very structured, so like I thrive off a routine. But also I'm probably too hard on myself. I'm definitely my toughest critic, always have been. What else would they say? I think that's probably about it. I don't know. What would they say, Sash? Tell me.
I would say that Tia is courageous as fuck. She will lean into the things that scare the living daylights out of her.
Yes,
for example, our very first call, or was it the second call? So once you'd already signed up, we then went into a bit of exploration into regards to where are we going and what could the hurdles be. And I was kind of leading you to figure out what is below all of this. Like, why don't we nourish ourselves? Why don't we move ourselves? Why do we work too much? Why do we people please? Why do we high achieve? And we realize with a bit of digging that it's because sometimes we don't see ourselves as worthy. Sometimes we do not believe that that person deserves to do those things. She doesn't deserve to look after herself. She doesn't deserve. And guiding you to that, I knew from, well, I know you anyway, so for anyone who's listening, Tia and I used to go raving together. We have history, but then we didn't speak for like years, did we? You just
life
drift, yeah. And then all of a sudden start following each other on social media. Next thing you know, we're working together, we're 8 months in, and oh my god, it's exciting. But to see that you, from that moment on that call where we both sat there crying our fucking eyes out, realizing that we are worthy women, we are worthy human beings. I knew that you would be the type of girl who throws your hand up when you're struggling. You're not scared to ask the right people for help. You're tenacious. You are such a go-getter, and you will fucking do whatever it takes. And that's all, you know, what you've just described there is the absolute ideal coaching club woman, the type of person who will make shit happen, who knows she's capable of more, and she could be in a really fucking shit place right now, and that's okay. So thank you for that. Now, how is life different then? So obviously we've lost a decent amount of weight, you've made some incredible changes physically, but tell me, like, your life December 2021 and the beginning of January 2022, how were things then? How were your thinking patterns? How were your behaviors compared to how things are now?
They're worlds and worlds apart. Like, so I've just started a new job, and this is how I know how different I've literally just been reflecting on this last week. The person that I am now and how I've gone into this new job is just so completely different to how I was previously. I put myself first, and I never ever let myself get to the bottom of that priority pile. And I mean never ever. Now I might drop to the middle if there's like things that are like something's happened and someone needs me to step up to the mark, fine, but I'm never ever at the bottom anymore. I am much more compassionate towards myself. I'm a lot kinder, and I give myself more grace now. Previously, I would have just thought, oh, you're just making excuses for yourself, just fucking get on with it. Whereas now, I look at it and think, well, you would never speak to 5-year-old Tia like that. You wouldn't dream of saying that to her. So why are you going to say that to you now? I've got a really, really good routine. Aside from last week, generally speaking, my sleep is much, much better. I'm really, really clear on like who I am as a person, what my values are, what my future looks like, how I want that to be and how I want that to play out. I'm a lot more present. So like I found before I joined, I was just so brain fogged like all the time that I would, like, even the simplest things of like, oh, what do you want for tea, would just be like, there won't be an argument, but you'd be like, oh, just whatever. I'm not asked, just whatever, because you've almost run out of steam to think, I almost don't care, like, I'm going past caring. And I was really, really like not in the moment at all. I'd just sit there and like, you'd be like staring at the telly and you're just completely zoned out. Like my other half would be talking to me and I'd just be like, yeah. And like, it drives me, like, if someone's doing that to me now, I'm like, hello? Be in the moment with me. But it, like, and I'm not like that now, like at all. Like if we're having a conversation and I'm exactly the same as with my friends, the phone is down, like you've got my attention. If I'm going to come and have the day with you, you've got me for the day. I'm not here just to be like messing about on whatever crap it is that usually you're on your phone or watching something on the telly. Like I want to be in that moment because I think life is way, way too short. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of happened recently and over the last few years. I just think you've got to live your life, I'm afraid. And whether people agree with that or not, that's a them problem. that is totally on them. Like, you've just got to be able to answer to yourself and be confident that what you're doing is right for you. And since being in the CC, I can 100% say that that's what I'm doing.
And how do you know that? How do you know? So how do you know that what you're doing now is right for you?
Because my energy is on a different level. And when you're operating from a place of something that's like disjointed from what you either believe in morally or what you're doing from like a values perspective, you'll be flat. You'll be really, really flat. There's some like epic quote, which I'm not very good at remembering, but it's basically along the lines of like, you'll only really get tired of doing stuff that you don't want to do. If you're living a life that you love, you won't, that fatigue and that drainedness will be limited. Like, it really, really will. So that definitely, my friendships have improved massively. My relationship with my parents is massively improved. Same with my other half. Like, that's never been bad, but he probably put up with quite a lot of shit before. Definitely stroppy, and snappy, like really, really snappy, and like, that's not there. And that then in turn makes me not feel guilty about being an arsehole. Because we know when we do it, don't we? We know when we're like, you're being a knob, like you're just being unfair.
And what do you believe? So for anyone who's listening and they keep snapping it if they've got children or their husband or work colleagues, why do you think that they're doing that?
So it could be a few things, couldn't it? But I would say probably either tiredness, you don't feel like you've got enough time for you, potentially nutrition. Like, I find that personally, for me, if I'm eating crap, I'm usually not in a great sort of mindset. But also like being overcommittal. If you've got like way too much going on, you haven't got time to stop and process, to like listen fully, to then take 5 seconds just to then be like, okay, I'm going to respond, rather than just like reacting all the time.
Did you feel like you were overcommittal pre-CC?
100%, yeah.
So how did you go about managing the fact that you are adding something in, i.e. coaching club? Like, how did you deal with that battle of, right, time is already poor, I've got all these fucking things I've got to do, and now I've got this woman who's going, come on, we can change your life, but you've got to do X, Y, Z. How did you deal with that?
So I started planning better. So I would do, so like, and I do this now on a Sunday, I plan my full week out. Like, where am I, what am I doing, what have I got to do, what's on my to-do list, and I will plan and schedule that in as well. I'm a bit OCD with the colours. Anyone that's in my Google Calendar will know this. It looks like a rainbow, but I love it. It works. But I was working in Derby at the time, which is like over 2 hours for me each way commuting. And I completely changed my work routine. So in my head, I had this belief of, I need to be at work for 7 a.m. because I'll miss the traffic in the morning by being there then. And then I can leave at like 2, and then I can still get home. And I've only really lost like an hour out of my day, but I would then be getting home would be absolutely bollocks, like no energy to train. And then because I'd be tired, I'd want to eat shit. So I completely shifted the way that I was working and the way that my time was operated in office, and I cut my office time down. Now, this won't obviously be possible for everyone, but being like where I am in terms of my career within the company, like totally possible. So I started getting up at like the normal time that I like a normal time, so I'd got my sleep. I would train before I left, and then I would leave at like 7, half 7. I would get there for like 9:30-ish. I would work until 3, because it didn't matter that wouldn't get home till later, because I'd already trained and done everything else. I'd cut my hours down probably about half an hour on the days I was in the office, and my productivity went through the roof, like without a shadow of a doubt. It just flew, because the time I was there, I was like, I'm here, I'm all in, and this is what I'm going to give. And because I'd already felt like, well, you've done everything that you need to do for the day, all you've got to do is make tea when you get home. It wasn't a biggie. That was a huge belief that I had that was not possible, that I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't joined CC. And that has given me the time that I've needed, obviously, before I started my new one.
It's interesting because a lot of people are in what we call a fixed mindset. So they're like, this is my life. It is the way it is. I can't change it. I can't say this. I can't delegate this, but no one's fucking tried. You know, I have sent so many emails out to companies that I want to work with. I have, you know, podcast, like I do not take a no for an answer until it's literally slammed into my face with opportunity, with different ways to do things. And we've seen you do this yourself, you know. You now own and have set up your OJUS coaching, and tell us about that. So why did you set it up? What is it that you want to get from it, and what will OJUS bring you that you feel was kind of missing from life, if you like?
Yeah. So I set that up 6 months ago now. Like, I don't really know where that's gone, but yeah. So OJUS is my coaching business, and I specialize in relationship and lifestyle coaching. And the reason I set it up, so my first point of call was that I've been in a really, really bad place with relationships, not just with like divorce, but like a multitude of different relationships throughout my life. And I think when you're stuck in the midst of it all, you don't feel like there is a way out. And I know that there is, and I know that there's more to life, and I know that you can live a life that you're genuinely happy with. You can be content, you can live to your fullest. And I genuinely care about people having that. That was where the core of it was, because I was like, I can help people with this. My whole background is in people leadership development. I've coached within my corporate career for the last 10 years, so I knew that, like, I know I'm good at it. But because of my experience, that's why I've gone down the speciality route of like relationships, really. But also then for like myself and what I want, I can't knock the company that I work for, because they are great, and I've like been with them for nearly 11 years, and they are fantastic. But I don't want a life where I have to answer to someone about having 30 days holiday a year. I don't want to not be able to take next Monday off because Belinda's gone to have a appointment, or do you know, like, I don't want that. I don't want the whole corporate 9 to 5. I want something that's like autonomous for me, that makes me feel like that's a life I can live. Like, I can do that from absolutely anywhere in the world. I love to travel. Like, we travel loads. Like, I love to explore new places, and I want something that fits in around that. Because if I'm like living a life that I'm like fulfilled and content with, like, just imagine what I'm going to be able to bring to my clients then.
It's a different ball game. Like, when you are like, so when I asked you earlier about why we can be snappy and stuff, I think the main of what you said, and from what I understand, is it's in some ways we're not meeting our basic needs, 100%. Or we're not meeting the six needs. So like love and connection, significance, contribution and growth. And it could be one, it could be a couple, it could be different things. But I know when women join, they're bottom of the priority pile. Everyone else is coming before them, so they're not even meeting their basic needs, like just getting a bit of fucking headspace. Now, what do you see? So knowing what you have managed to do, because it's got fuck all to do with me, I'm just here guiding you in the right direction. So knowing what you have managed to do in the past 8 months, what do you see the next 8 months looking like? Well, what is Tia's future like?
How fucking exciting is that? Like, I'm well excited. So my next 8 months, if you like, I suppose, will be physically, I'm going into a diet phase. So I've got a goal that I want to kind of get to, and then we're going to go down a maintenance route, because I'm going to prove to myself that that's what I can do. And then I want to go down an intuitive eating route, because I've got way too many hang-ups over food and diet culture that's like ingrained, that I want to just get rid of. So 8 months time, that would be banging. From a business perspective, I will kind of have, I suppose, where I'm at now, I would like to be able to kind of be at a point where I've got a really solid kind of client base and building that up, and offering kind of services there. 8 months is not realistic to quit my job in, but give it a couple of years and then we'll see where we're at with that. But that's like my long term. That's where I'd really like to get to, because it will just be a life on my terms, and it's all totally achievable. And that's what I will do. That's 100% what I will do. I'm so focused on it of what I want that no is not, it's not an option anymore. That's what I'm coming for.
And what do you believe will hold you back? Or what hurdles do you believe will potentially get in your way for the collective of goals where you want to be in 8, 12, 18 months?
Life gets in the way, doesn't it? Like, life is a hurdle in itself. There'll always be stuff that gets thrown your way. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell you what's going to crop up and like jump out, but there will definitely be something, because there always is. The thing that I know is that whatever it is, I can totally get through it, because I've been through worse. And if you want to throw something else at me, then I'll just take it on anyway. So the beauty of it now is that I've got an absolutely insane boardroom that none of it I will even need to deal with on my own anymore. So if something comes up and I'm like, this is a bit wobbly, I'll just put my hand up, because that's what I've got. That's what I've got coach for. Like, that's what you're there for. So, I'm not concerned about what will come up anymore. And if you'd have asked me that a year ago, I'd have been like, shit.
Yeah.
But I'm genuinely don't feel like there's anything that I can't overcome.
It's amazing when you have a boardroom of people that you trust wholeheartedly
100%.
and you are like, okay, so this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But when I come to, so I, for me, on an identity aspect, I identify myself a lot through helping people through problems. And you as a coach will do that as well for your clients. And where like coaching is worth its absolute weight in gold is when you come up and you're like, I cannot see the fucking wood through the trees. I do not understand how I can move forward. Or I think it could be this and this. Like, give me your perspective. It's not about being a fucking cheerleader when it's all rainbows, unicorns, and daffodils. Obviously, we are there as well. It's the ones who roll up their sleeves, they get fucking dirty with you, and they're like, you and I, we've got this. We stand fucking side by side, and we're going to make it happen. I am going to call you out though. Other than life, what hurdles do you think you could face? Or
it'll be me. My biggest hurdle will be me. Like, it always has been, and it always will be, because there is still, even now, that little voice in there that's going me, like, that you just want to punch in the face and put it in a box somewhere. But the reality is that's always going to be there, because it's been conditioned, like, as we all are, you're conditioned over life to have these like beliefs. Your brain is there to keep you safe. And when you're trying something new, or something gets thrown at you that's like a bit scary, your brain is going to go, get me the fuck out of here, because this is not safe, and I need you to take me back to safety now, please. And actually, like, I've now got a toolkit that's strong enough to be like, it's okay, like, you're okay, we're gonna get through it. And that is how I know that I will get through it, is because I'm confident in my ability to do that now. But 100% that will be the thing, because it will turn, if you let it grow, and if you let it get louder and louder and louder, it will turn into that self-destruct button.
It is so powerful. And the brain, like you say, it's here to help us survive. It's also here to keep us in check. When it's going, you're being lazy, go, right, okay, am I, or is that just an expectation? You cannot have good without bad. And imposter syndrome, self-doubt, a massive lack, and I know this is the same as self-doubt, but I think people might resonate with it, a massive lack of self-belief. all these things are the things that stop us, and not realizing our true potential. We think our potential is the things that you said about earlier. Trust me when I fucking say this, you are capable of so much more that right now is not even on your horizon yet, that you can see. But when you have coaches here who are going, oh, she doesn't fucking know this yet, but it's coming. So final question. If you could sit down with 4 or 5-year-old Tia, what would you tell her about life? What would you tell her? How would you help her to get through life in a way that maybe you wish that you'd been told when you were younger?
This will be the hard one. So what would I tell her now? I would tell her that it doesn't matter what anyone tells you, because you are always loved, and the people that are around you are literally trying to do the best with what they've got. They've got their own stuff going on, and that's not your fault, and you're not to blame for that. And you will never ever believe the life that you're going to create for yourself, and the future that you're going to create for your family. And when you get there, it will be bigger and better than you ever dreamed of.
Mic fucking drop. We're both crying our eyes out. Mate, it wouldn't be a conversation between you and I if we didn't fucking cry. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to snippet that bit out for you, and I'm going to send you it so that whenever you fucking doubt yourself, you listen back to that, because that 4-year-old girl, 5-year-old girl still exists within you now. And that doubt that comes up, that fear, that's just her going, I don't know if I can fucking do this. I don't know if I'm worthy of this. And whereas if we can hear this fierce version of Tia telling her that she fucking can, we operate from a completely different level. Tia, thank you so much. Absolutely incredible. I think we're going to have to get a round 2 in a couple of months' time, just to let people know where you're at. So thank you ever so much for your time, your energy, and your honesty. I'm sure this will inspire people across the globe. So thank you ever so much. Is there anything you want to finish by saying?
Just thank you for having me on. I've absolutely loved it. And honestly, if there is anyone out there listening to it that you're genuinely in a place of feeling like there is more, trust your gut and fucking go and find it, because there is. It's out there. In
any way. So it could be in any area of life. It could be, you know, there is always a different way, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%.
Team, thank you so much. Have an incredible rest of your day, and we'll speak soon. Please don't forget to give us a like, a share, rate us over on whatever app I suppose it is that you're listening to us on, and spread the love. Thank you.